conversations, cocktails,
and connections.
I'm Amy Hester.
I'm Emily Reeves, and tonight we're gonna make something called the Beyonce.
All the single ladies.
Okay, so it's kind of made up. Again, I've referenced this book before, but this is Free the Tipple, Kick-Ass Cocktails Inspired by Iconic Women. And I mean, how could you not want to make every cocktail in here? So this one is called the Beyonce.
And look.
Oh, nice!
Was that planned?
No. And not surprisingly, it has lemonade in it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, so this one is going to be served in mason jars.
Cute.
This is our first mason jar cocktail. So we're going to pour a shot of bourbon into each glass, then top it with lemonade, garnish with a lemon round, stick a straw in it, and call it a drink.
I think we should do extra bourbon. This is a pretty big glass.
Okay, so I thought the same thing. I was like, that seems kind of tame.
I know when we've done other drinks and it's like a little low ball and
there's like 2 shots.
Yes. Okay, I think we should definitely.
I think you're right.
Beyonce would totally up it, right?
What would Beyonce do? All right, so so it's supposed to be 1 shot. We're gonna put 2 shots. Do you think that's enough?
I think
I should
perfect.
put 2.5.
2.5 is good.
2.5. Okay.
This is called the Beyonce Amy Emily.
There we go. I mean, it's not the drink that she made up. It was a drink that was made up in her honor. So,
well, she's from the South, so I think a Southern mason jar. Yeah. And she's from like Houston or something.
Houston, yeah.
Which do you consider Texas? I mean, I know it's Southern, but when I think of mason jar, I think of like Georgia for some reason, Kentucky. I don't know why.
Interesting. I don't. But, I guess that's like just different perceptions. Okay, so garnish.
Wow, that was so fun and easy.
I know. Garnish.
Oh, it's pretty.
With our lemon wheel, and we're going to do...
our bar aprons.
We do have our bar aprons on.
We forgot it.
That's mostly because Amy said I was wrinkled and needed to cover up.
Well, the last episode we did... We forgot our aprons.
We did forget them. Okay, so the Beyonce.
Cheers! Beyonce. And you're totally coordinated with your cocktail and your outfit.
Also, not planned. If it were planned, my shirt might be...
Oh, that's good.
It is good.
It would not have been as good with 1 shot.
It would not have, because it would have just tasted like lemonade. Like, you can barely taste the bourbon.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm not mad about this at all.
So who's our guest today?
Okay, so our guest tonight is Mariah Hatta, and Mariah works with the Pulaski County Clerk's Office and is very political and has worked on a lot of different campaigns and has a really interesting background. So we're anxious to hear her take on things and to get some advice on voting, because it is time to make sure you're registered to vote, to request your absentee ballot if you're going to do it that way, or prepare for early voting. I mean, there's so many steps involved, and so she can give us some advice on all of those things. So we're really excited.
I know. I'm really excited because I know there's a lot of information that people don't know.
Right.
I think it's going to be hard, and it's just about voting.
Yeah.
It's going to make the difference.
All right, let's
do
it.
Let's talk to her. Cheers. Beyonce.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
All right, well, listen, Mariah, what's in your glass?
Okay,
you got a cocktail?
So I don't have a name for it, so we have to give it a name because it's not really politically correct. So the way we like to say it. So the other day I was reading something and they were talking about, kamikaze shots like we all used to do. And I was like, I kind of used to like those. And then I realized it's just vodka, a citrus juice of some kind, and then they called it an orange liqueur. So mine is Tito's dry curacao, which is, a fancy orange liqueur. And then I added a Radler to it.
Ooh, I love a Radler.
And then some lemon juice, and then some Mountain Valley spring water. So we'll here.
You need to think of a name for this.
You need to think of a little more politically correct. I don't know. But the Radler and the vodka I found out from it was the coffee shop by my office, and this woman was working, and she's like talking about how hungover she was. I'm like, really? It's a Tuesday. And she's like, well, Mondays are industry night. So, we go out and, places have special nights for us. And I was like, oh, well, what's your drink? And she's like, well, I do Stiegel Radler with grapefruit vodka. And I'm like, really? She's like, you're supposed to do it as a shot, but I drink it as a drink. I'm like, that sounds amazing.
So I do that. I mean, I put
Tequila.
I'll put vodka in a Radler, and I also put it in the core Scarlet Letters. If I was to be on by the pool or in an ocean, and places that I'm not. But right. I mean, if you're places where you have to take a canned drink, that would be easy in your cooler. You just have vodka floater.
Yeah, I like that little vodka. I've done that before with. I love the core. Was it Scarlet Letters? I love the red was my favorite, but now I think the green is, and then I like I didn't like purple at first.
Yeah.
So
I didn't like purple at first, but I do like the purple now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just tried the green. It wasn't my favorite, but it might be the same as the purple, and I might like it later.
So this is important to note, though. When they first started making them, they were vodka based, and they've changed it so that they're now
malt or
malt based, and I think it's for distribution purposes. So,
but you can still add vodka to it.
Yes, you can, or tequila if you want a little more flavor.
Yeah, tequila would be good too.
Okay, well, we are drinking a drink called the Beyonce.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it is super simple. It's literally like, well, we did 2.5 shots of bourbon and then filled the rest of the glass with lemonade, and that's it.
And it called for one shot.
It did call for 1 shot of vodka or bourbon and the rest lemonade, but we're like, we didn't think that didn't sound proportionally right. So
yeah, I
cheers.
Cheers. I didn't use any kind of measuring utensils or anything. Just kind of.
Yeah, I had a couple kamikazes in my 20s. Kamikazes!
Exactly. And I was always like, those were good. But it was really, it was too late in the night when you shouldn't be doing shots anyway. So.
And or you're under 21, you're like, can I have sex on the beach or a kamikaze shot?
Exactly.
This is not the first time that Amy's brought up sex on the beach as a shot on this podcast. No, at some point we're gonna.
Sex on the beach is not a shot, though. I think it's a drink, right? Kamikaze shots, those are shots, but sex on the.
I don't know.
I thought it was a shot.
Yeah. What, Sex on the Beach?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. No.
We'll look it up.
We will find out. Stay tuned.
That's our homework.
Tell us what is happening with you, Mariah.
What's on your mind these days?
Oh, elections.
It's on our minds.
How to vote, how to get an absentee ballot. If you guys need to know any of that kind of stuff, I can tell you how.
I think we need to know all of it, because from what I understand, the process can be complicated if you don't follow the rules specifically, but it doesn't mean that you should avoid it.
Right.
So give us your best advice.
Easy. And we created, and I'm going to post it on my Facebook. It's my real work, but I'm going to just share it. It's a cheat sheet of what you need to fill out. So obviously, I assume you're both registered to vote, right?
Yes.
So this would be if you, don't want to, because now we have no restrictions. The governor's come out with the executive order. Before that, the Secretary of State said basically along the same lines that, fear of COVID or a family member getting it because we're out and about, whatever, was enough. So there are 3 excuses usually. The first one is unavoidably absent the day of the election. Kind of broad. The second one is if you have a long-term disability or you're actually sick and you're not able to leave where you are. And then the last one is if you're overseas, and that gets more complicated. And most of those people are actually military or active military families, so they're pretty much taken care of. and we don't really have to, and it's actually overseen more by the feds. So I think, this is me, no one official, the easiest thing is to say unavoidably absent. You can't make it to the polls on election day. But some people can make it to the polls maybe during early vote. So if you're one of those people, maybe early vote instead of getting an absentee ballot and having the extra steps, because you'll be right there. If something goes wrong, you can talk to the person there, all that kind of stuff. I'm probably going to do early voting.
So can I ask a question about early voting? So typically I early vote just because election day I'm usually working and it's kind of hard to get to. But how are they going to move it? A place is going to be a larger scale because of COVID and like more socially distanced, because when you go early vote, there's not necessarily that they let a lot of people in that are voting, but there's a lot of people working the polls. So I feel like you're kind of in which before it wasn't a big deal, but now it is. So how are they going to do that?
It's still going to be this for now. I mean, this could change. It's still going to be the same places. There are 11 sites in Pulaski County. Most of them are in Little Rock, but then we've also got one in North Little Rock, which is Lehman Library. So that's pretty big. Jacksonville, which I assume is the Jacksonville Community Center, also pretty big. And then one in Sherwood. I think that covers it. There's probably one, it's Little Rock proper, but it'll be, south part of the county. And so what the Secretary of State's using some of the CARES Act money for is PPE. So he's going to have lots and lots of masks for the workers, for the volunteers. If you leave your mask in the car by chance, they can give you one. And I haven't seen them, but they're going to have stylists so that you don't have to touch the screen or anything else. And then I guess you get to keep the stylus or throw it away, but they don't want it back. And they'll also have a lot of chemicals to clean everything and stuff like that. And our county has had, I think, at least 2 small, but they've had 2 elections since COVID. So they've had a little bit of a practice on the, keeping everything clean, all that stuff. The beauty is, since it's a presidential year, we have 2 full weeks of early voting, and we have two Saturdays. So there's more time. You can pull kind of like, I don't know about you, but pre-COVID, pull up to the Kroger. I'm like, nope, not going in now. Too many cars. So now it's definitely like, nope, not going in now. Too many cars. So I think with so many spots and people already on their mind, you can plan a little more.
Yeah. I think what people have to realize is, I know for myself, when it comes to a line, I get discouraged and I don't want to wait in line. But I'm telling you right now, I will be waiting in line. I don't care how long it takes to vote. I will wait in line. So in the rain, I will be prepared. Whatever. I will bring my raincoat. I will do whatever. But when does that start?
The early voting starts, it's October 19th, and it runs to November 2nd. So you can't vote on Sundays, but every day in between you can. Saturdays will have a few, it'll be an abbreviated schedule. So normally it's like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, depending on the venue. They won't be open that late or that early on a Saturday, because a lot of them are libraries. So it's along with what their regular hours are. And so that's the 19th through the 2nd of December, not the 2nd of December. Now I'm sounding like our president. November 2nd, and election day. And that was a mistake. That was not planned. I'm not trying to suppress anyone's vote. And then on November 3rd, the polls, like your regular polling location, is 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Okay, so there are a lot of dates that people need to be aware of, right? So, like, if early voting starts on October 19th, okay, so there's the register to vote date. Like, if you're not registered to vote, when do you need to be registered to vote in order to vote, period, in this election?
Right, so anyone, and this is going to make all of us feel old, anyone born on or before November 3rd, 2002 is eligible to vote this year. So
Awesome.
we could all technically have children old enough to.
You could have a child.
Technically. My dog's 70 in human years. And so that deadline is October 5th because it would be over that weekend, but since it's on a weekend, they move it to the Monday. So October 5th is for any new voter. Say, we lived in New York and we moved back, it'd be any new Arkansas voter. For an Arkansas voter, I moved across town or I moved from Fayetteville to Little Rock and didn't update my registration, that would be Friday, October 30th. So you've got a little more time. You can do all of that almost over the phone. They really it's supposed to be written, but you can check online to see what where they've got you right now to make sure it's right. And they'll send you the form, or you can send the form in through the mail or drop it by the courthouse. So October 5th, new voters. So new if you're brand new, like a kid, or new if you're new to the state. And then October 30th, which is a Friday before Halloween, is if you are just changing within the state.
Okay, so that's registering to vote. If you want an absentee ballot, when do you have to request that by?
Yeah, so that's a little more complicated, but keep in your head October 27th. That's what we're telling everyone, because that's when your application needs to be received by the county clerk's office. So if you put it in the mail, it needs to be in their hands October 27th.
Wait, your application or your ballot?
Oh. Your application.
Okay.
Which is, cutting it pretty close because
that's really close.
And they will start mailing. So here's more dates. They will start mailing the ballots in late September. So like around September 18th. So if you get your stuff in now, it could be the last week in September and you're done.
So
you filled it out, send it in, done.
Do you feel that maybe if you are comfortable and you can early vote, go do it in person? Because I am concerned with what's going on in the world personally about absentee, which I think everybody should get an absentee if you're uncomfortable versus not voting. Do it.
Right.
But if you are able to go, don't you think that that's the most important?
Yeah, I think it, because I work there, I know what goes into just doing one absentee ballot, and each absentee ballot. So I wish I had one with me. I wasn't thinking. There are a couple of different envelopes in there, and then there's all these different things that you're, voting on, and then there's an information sheet for our county. It's bright red, so you can't miss it. And then there's a form you got to sign. So there's a lot of stuff in there. It's kind of like a not classy wedding invitation, but it's like big and there's pieces. And although there's a bright blue stripe on one, which is kind of fun. And so that costs $250 for one person. And so you guys, you're in marketing. You're in marketing. Think of if you're mailing that to 25,000 people. We have 252,000 people who are registered to vote in Pulaski County. But so $250 per voter, that's a lot of money. Yeah. So, and we're not, I don't want to discourage, and this is me speaking, not my day job. So I don't want to discourage anyone, but when you look at it that like, hey, I could just go vote. It's kind of fun to vote in person. Probably not. Or say you want to be a poll worker. Why don't you get your absentee ballot, fill that out, and then you can volunteer, or there are paid positions at the polling locations. You could be a poll worker for 2 weeks or a week. And we're really pushing that because there are more poll workers over the age of 90 than there are like in their 20s. And with COVID, I mean, you can't, I mean, I wouldn't, if there was anyone in my family still alive in their 90s, I would not let them do that. I'd be like, I know this is your favorite thing every 4 years. No.
Do you feel though that, I mean, it's a generation thing as far as like, there's the difference of the respect to vote is different for a 90-year-old than it is for a 20 to 30-year-old.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I don't know. I mean, well, I agree with that, but at the same time, like you're seeing so much movement right now, civil unrest, and I think a lot of that comes from that youth demographic who are trying to sure that the vote is counted. Now their peers may not, and there may be some education needed on getting that to it. But I mean, I think I don't know if it's generational. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm throwing a dissenting voice in there, but
I think in the past it has been. In the past, we all have this like the Rock, and I have friends who work for Rock the Vote, and it was like the coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't, people didn't turn out. And I think we're at that place where now you've got to vote. I mean, even in Little Rock, we're not this huge city in this huge state. There were people protesting for weeks. Yeah. And, you would recognize the organizers, and it's like, do you need food? Do you need sleep? Do we need to go do your laundry? Like, you're out here every day, all day long. So if you're going to put that much effort into something, I think you're going to vote.
Yeah.
You hope. Oh my God, I hope so.
Well, especially when the votes can come down to thousands, like the difference is thousands. I mean, not just so it just tells you that every vote does count. And so if you are to absentee vote and you do something small wrong on that application and it gets thrown out, your vote doesn't count. So if you have the opportunity to do an early vote, like if you're going to the grocery store once a week, you can probably safely go to the voting booth, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I mean, rather than risking your vote not be counted, it's such a critical year.
I remember as my grandfather had a couple of heart attacks when I was younger. I mean, he ended up passing away years ago, but I remember one of the heart attacks, and it's terrible to me, so I don't know which one it was, but all I remember about being in this hospital is that he had a triple bypass surgery, and he's like, I have to vote. I'm not even kidding.
That's really cool.
I remember my grandmother getting the absentee thing, and it was like this long thing. I mean, I'm a kid, and I was a little kid. I remember this so well. Because we were not in, I grew up in Pine Bluff, we were not in Arkansas because he ended up having a heart attack in another state because they were big RV people. And he was in another state. And so we drove there to visit, and he was just like, surgery, stitched up, I have to vote.
I mean, I'm sorry that he was in that situation, but that's a really amazing story.
But I mean, that just shows how important it is. I mean, your voice does matter. I mean, everybody's voice does matter. And how do you go about, how do you get the youth involved? I mean, I will be honest, like I was probably not voting at 18. I wasn't. I mean, I was more into myself and if I was a kid, I'd be like all into myself and the phone, whatever. I mean, how do you get a kid on board of voicing their own opinion, not views of others? Is that a hard question?
It is a hard question. And I think it's got to be one of those things like everything else, it starts in the home. And if it doesn't start in the home, then it's got to be school or some other community organization. And all of these organizations need to, at home, hopefully, but at school, if they, we get to school, but everywhere, we just all have to say the same message over and over that to engage in your society today, you've got to be active. And the first thing you have to do is vote. And and the first thing you got to do before that is register. So you got to register and then vote. And if you don't do that, everything else is kind of like, I don't want to discount it, but it's almost not real if you're not engaged in the actual process that we have here. And we just saw, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, John Lewis died. And what do you think? You know, it seems like it was so long ago when it was 55 years ago. And I'm almost, you know, I'm not there, but that's not that long ago for me. You know, it's getting up there. So people literally were getting beat up for the right to vote.
Do you feel like they talk about, I mean, do you feel like they really address it in schools of the importance of voting? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was not as important to me now, like, you know, but I don't remember it being pressed.
I think they do now. We did at the clerk's office in my day job. We started last fall in about 10 high schools. And then this year, before COVID, we had registered working with our partners, of course, we had registered about 600 new people. And most of them were high school students who were either already 18 or about to be 18 sometime this year. And they were way into it. So I think it maybe is a different generation now. And maybe it's because, you know, we're not teachers, but it's people our age who are the teachers. So, you know, if we were teachers, we would be telling our students to vote. So it's probably both generations. It's the voters and the adults and the authority figures around.
Okay, so let's see. So we need to, first step is register to vote.
Yes.
And we need to do that by October 2nd or 3rd.
October 5th is the deadline because it's a Monday. That's why it's kind of thrown off a little bit.
All right. So then if you are going to absentee ballot, go ahead and request it.
Yes.
Because the sooner the better, and it has to be back in, there's postal service issues and all that kind of stuff. So sooner the better, you can do that. But the last date that you can request it is October 27th.
And that also helps each of the clerk's offices because the earlier the better, because they can plan. You know, they've gotten the go ahead that they can prep the envelopes earlier than they could. I mean, it used to be they couldn't even touch anything really until election day, or maybe it was that Friday before, which once you've got it and you verified, you know, this is Emily's ballot, then you feed it to the machine, and that's not a big deal. But we have to make sure, like, she signed everything and where her address is, and we've got your we've got your ID, you sent a copy of it in. All that has to match up before we can feed it into the machine.
That's it. One at a time. Actual person, looking to make sure, so it's not. I mean, that's a big deal, and it's a huge undertaking for any county, and we're going to have tens of thousands. But there was a county,
a lot more this year than before, right?
Yes, we're not a big absentee vote state. So this is just this is different for every county, whether you know you're Pulaski County and Benton County, or your I think the smallest ones are Woodruff County's second smallest. It's another, and then there's a Southern County. I can't remember which one it is, but those are the two smallest, and they have, you know, a few thousand people compared to, you know, we've got 300,000.
All right. So if you request an absentee ballot, what if you change your mind and want to go early vote? Is that a no-no?
I might find you and take $2.50 and give it back.
Yeah, I was going to say
but you can vote. You can go in. It'll take a little longer because they'll have to make sure that you haven't already voted absentee, or they don't have your absentee ballot in hand, and you'll have to vote provisionally, which is sort of like, you know, it's kind of your last chance vote. Like, everyone can vote provisionally, and then they check to make sure that person is an eligible voter. So you still can vote. There still is that option, but try to think it through. But even if you think you're not going to be able to make it to the polls, get that application in.
So the bottom line is just vote. But like, if you request an absentee vote, send that back in. Don't go try to the poll, but vote if you don't get it back in time, whatever, just vote. But it just know that it's going to be more trouble, right? Like,
right. But you can you the voter should know that you'll be able to vote. You know, you're out and you're like, oh, there's no line. I don't know where I put my ballot.
Yeah,
you can go vote. Yeah.
I mean, it's the single most important thing that you could possibly do in your life is vote. I mean, like you have a voice, and you can live in Arkansas. You live in this tiny town with a population of 14 people, but you're 14, you're 13, you count. Everybody counts.
Okay, so I have a fun question. Okay, so have you watched The Politician on Netflix?
I haven't made it all the way through the first season, but it's hysterical.
It's so good, and the second season is even better. And this is all about, and this has actually, the question had relevance to like voting counting, because like in the second season he's like, you know, voting, he's running for a state senate seat.
Oh, like a real seat.
And but for like in state, not like Senate, you know, still a real seat. Yeah, he's still running for a real seat, and it's against night. And anyway, it's really great, and it comes down to like literally every single vote counting, and it's just quite delightful because they're good characters, and
they're funny,
it's
and the
fun.
The banter is hysterical, and it's true. I mean, we've had one of the special elections, actually. One of the special elections here in Little Rock came down to 1 or 2 votes. A number of the elections in 2018 in Northwest Arkansas came down to one, I think was 12. The other one, I think was 3. I mean, that's literally just, you know, hey, did you vote? Oops, no.
You better, if someone asks you that and you didn't, you just lie. I mean, like, I wouldn't want to know who didn't. Okay, so you were going to be able to go to the convention, and now you can't. Oh, I'm so sad. I mean, you can virtually.
It'll all be virtual. They say they're still sending us presents. I have yet to get anything in the mail. I'm like, but what about all the stuff? You get all the stuff.
I need my gift basket.
I mean, like, I still have macaroni and cheese from like 2008. You know.
I mean, what is that like? I mean, is it just chaos, and you're just like so pumped up, and you're like,
well, I've never gone as a delegate, so it's always been work. So it's like, have you guys ever done, New Orleans might be the same, but like a convention in Vegas?
No, but I've done South by Southwest in Austin, which
that's
I'm
probably
guessing
the same. Yeah. So it's like so awesome, but you're working your butt off. Yeah. And then by the time you get to go out, it's way late. And so you're still going out. And then the next day is like hell. And then it's kind of like that. So I've only worked them, and they are really cool. And what's the saddest part is that there's that core group of people I would know that I would see every 4 years at least. And I won't be able to see them in person. And I'm actually a delegate. So I would have been one of those people that, like, you know, they bust you around, and you get to wear crazy hats and buttons, and they feed you and give you gifts and lots of tote bags.
So, but you still get to vote as a delegate, right?
I still get to vote. We voted our first round last week.
Okay.
And that was just a PDF it was a fillable PDF, and I emailed it and copied the right people, and I was stalked for like 24 hours. Like, well, you haven't got it in. I'm like, I have till the 15th. They're like, no, 1 hour's in early. I'm like, I've never been early for anything. But okay. So I've already voted. I've already voted once.
So how are you gonna watch the convention live?
Yeah, definitely. I think they've got something set up for the delegates. The party here has some things going on. They've got I saw a little bit of the schedule. I think Sunday we've got a brunch, and then Monday is kind of the first real day. And I think we have a event that evening. And then it's the first day of the convention stuff. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't really like to watch election night or debates with many people, but the convention's different. So I'm hoping there'll be some, safe venue, self-distance, masked, whatever. I've got I don't have it readily available, but I got my vote mask. So I hope there'll be some fun. I would expect there's going to be.
I mean, but you will be involved in the very first virtual experience. I mean, right?
I like that you're calling it the first because I'm guessing it won't be the last.
Right. And it may call into question why we even have these.
Right.
But, yeah.
I mean, it'll save a lot of money. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Government money.
Or for me, I mean, when I was elected, I was like, ooh, I'm going to have to raise some money. They average, it's like $3,000 to $4,000 a person. Because you have to stay in a certain hotel, and the hotel rates are all set ahead of time. And then, we could have gone into Chicago, so you could have driven or flown, but still, it's pretty expensive. And you're just everything's set. Like you can't really go off campus or whatever to hang out and do your thing. But they really are a lot of fun.
Well, it'll be fun for you anyway. Yeah. I'm gonna side note this and totally change the subject because Emily and I are dog people, and we have to know about. Well, so Mariah is involved with art centers. I did a lot of art center stuff.
Yeah,
but that is not. I know Mariah longer than art center stuff. But I mean, you've taken on some serious creativity, crafting. I mean, would you call it crafting? I mean, no, it's art. I mean, you're doing clay, right?
Yeah, I do ceramics, which is so funny because friends of mine forever were like, let's do ceramics. I'm like, why? What would I do with that brown thing? Like, or my mom loves ceramic. I'm like, really? That's kind of ugly. And a friend of mine, I saw something that she had on Facebook. I'm like, where'd you get that? She's like, I made it. And it was either, she does a lot of stuff from Mississippi, but Arkansas, and she had a lot of flowers, and I love flowers. So it was something that was floral, I'm sure. And I'm like, what do you mean you made it? And she's like, well, I take classes at the art center. I'm like, those classes that people are talking about forever. And so I asked her about it, asked her how much it cost. I was like, okay, I'm in. And it was like, maybe like a Thursday, and the class started Monday. And I was immediately addicted. It took a while for me to like anything I made, and which is funny because now I go back, I'm like, that was pretty good. I don't know that I can make that again. Like, I don't even remember, but it's so much fun. And I haven't touched clay now in probably about a month because I'm in between like moving my studio, which is the table that this laptop's on, in my living room into my actual office. And so it'll be more set up to be.
Do you have to fire it?
Yeah. So the art center now is opening up. We still can't go in, but you can fire things there. And I've got some friends with some kilns, and you have to buy the art center clay. So I've got a lot of clay. I just haven't made anything in about a month.
So since the art center is doing the new improved huge space, so where are the art center classes now? Are they down at Riverdale?
Yes, which is awesome.
Because they moved all of the equipment there.
Mm-hmm. So it's in the big Walmart. Well, it was a small Walmart, but the way it's laid out is so much better in general for the art classes. But we haven't been there since March, so that part's been kind of sad.
Okay, can I just get up for 1 second and show you an art project? And this is Emily's project, but I mean, we did it together. No, I'm going to show her the
I was like, oh God, what are you getting?
I was wondering what that, oh my goodness, I love it.
So Amy and I each made one. There's an art teacher here, and she does kids art classes, but sometimes she does adults art classes. And so we went, just the two of us, and we're like, we want to make this vase. The artist, Jamie Frey Aldenhoven, had designed the vase. And so she like worked with us, and we each made our own, and then she went and fired it and brought it back, and we painted it and fired it again. It was awesome.
So cool. I mean, you could sell that. We always joke that anything with the face sells.
Yeah.
Really?
I can see that. I can totally see that. It's like a reflection type situation.
Yeah.
We're all egoists.
Okay. Amy's starting to think now.
Like, what can I sell? Look at my
I want something painted like your salon. I love every time I drive by that. It makes me so happy.
Isn't it awesome?
It's awesome.
So tomorrow I'm gonna do a little video with the artist, and we're gonna do a little giveaway. And I'm excited. So we can finally schedule it tomorrow. And she's actually made a piece of art that is gonna go along with the giveaway, which I'm excited. But I can see after taking that, when we did that podcast, making the space, how you can get so into it. And like we were talking and drinking while doing this, but you just get you're so concentrated on everything. And it's so fun. And now she already had the whole concept made out. So it wasn't something that we thought of.
Like didn't have to create from scratch, guiding us. Yeah.
And I find that that's the biggest stress. Is like, what am I going to make?
Let's start. Yeah.
But then once you start, and it's a different stress. It's like the first level, your stress disappears. And then you're like, I've got to make this just perfect. I don't know what it is. It's got to be perfect. But it's like a fake stress, you know?
Yeah. So have you sold in the Art Center museum sale?
I have not. I've sold, let's see. I've got stuff at Cal's right now that closed the day after I brought my pigs.
Okay, your pigs are so cute. Oh my gosh, can we look at these?
But now she's got them like set up in this amazing. Like I walked in and I was like, they have their own case.
So cool.
I was so excited. And then Brandy has some at Bella Vita, which that was also like, I don't care if they sell. They're just here with all the cool stuff.
I know. I love that store. Everything in it is just so fantastic.
And Brandy does such a great job of, I mean, obviously of curating it, but of taking care of like, the other makers.
She does a good job. Okay, I love the pigs. There was one, okay, I was looking at your...
I'm going to pull up the picture.
I mean, like, I love this kind of thing.
Well, that was supposed to be a lamp, but the base kept breaking.
I mean,
so they're supposed he's got a hole all the way through, and the base kept breaking, so I have to like redo another base. Is that Elvis Pig or Hound Dog? Yep.
I love that.
He lives in Oakland now. My friend bought him, and he lives in Oakland. He's my furthest away pig.
I need to buy an iris. No, I can't say her last name. A pig like Iris.
Approve? I don't know.
You know
the woman with the big glasses.
The woman,
fashion icon.
Oh, it's an apple Iris.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God, that'd be so cool.
Would that not be the cutest pig? If you make one, I'll buy it from you.
Okay.
She has to have lots of jewels, big glasses, and red lipstick.
That would be fun. I made one for a coworker that she just wanted lipstick. What did she want? She wanted lipstick and pearls. And then she also got a Birkin. Because I was like, she has to have a bag. So she had a bag, lipstick, pearls.
Might be a good one.
Look how cute that is. I mean, Mariah, that's awesome. Do you feel very Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore and those?
No. I gotta get the nose just right. No. People always say, I don't do the wheel. I just feel like you could like ruin it so fast. But people are like, but you could make it so fast. I'm like, I just don't. I'm not good
So
with
how
geometry.
did you evolve to the pig? Like, so when you first started, are you like making bowls and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, make a bunch of bowls, and then all of a sudden you make a pig?
I think
Like,
Chris Smith handed me some porcelain, and I made a pig, and that was like the first thing.
I love Chris Smith.
I do too, and his work's amazing.
Really?
Oh, so he sells at ransom. He's like hoity-toity.
He's big time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before we leave, you have to tell us your Instagram, and well, I want you first to tell us the Instagram, but then also tell us your Instagram for your pottery.
Okay. Well, my Instagram is HM Hatta. So that's my first name's Hannah, Mariah Hatta, Hatta. So it's HM Hatta is my personal one. It's a whole bunch of random. And Instagram's still my favorite. They haven't fully ruined it yet, so it's still enjoyable. You can still look through it and not get too upset about anything, see pretty things. And then my ceramics, the name that I came up with, because of one, they're both at my feet, so you can't see them, but I call it the House of Terriers. So it's House of Terriers AR, all one word, is the Instagram.
That's awesome.
Because this is the House of Terriers.
Right? I mean, we both have 3 dogs.
Each of us have 3, yeah. So
oh my goodness.
House of Terror. House of Terror is mine. I'm just kidding.
Well, I used to call them the Terrors, but yeah.
Well, and before we end, please, if you could narrow it up and sum it up really quickly, how to get people to vote. Tell us something really fast.
Well, first of all, get your house in order. You know, make sure you're registered. Make sure you're registered in the right place. And if you want to vote absentee, get that in right away. And then, just like on the airplane, after you put on your own mask, help everyone around you. You know, your family, your friends. I mean, it seems like everyone wants to vote, and there's so many questions out there. I hate the app Nextdoor, but I spend so much time on Nextdoor giving information. Someone's like, well, it takes this many stamps. I'm like, nope, it takes this many. Like, just go to the source, because it's so confusing. And it took us a good 2 months to get to the point where we could just say it really quickly and say it, in words that made sense. So
how many stamps does it take?
To return it in Pulaski County, because we don't have the money to cover postage, it'll take 3 stamps. So I think stamps are now like 55 cents each.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
I almost want to donate stamps.
There are people talking about that, actually.
I'm not kidding. Like, I think that would be a fun thing to like get a drive to donate stamps for absentee.
I know some people, Dr. Anika Whitfield with the Poor People's Campaign is planning to take Polaroid pictures of people's IDs, hand them the Polaroid so they can send that back with their ballot and give them the 3 stamps.
That's great. Like just trying to reduce the friction everywhere possible. Right. That's awesome.
Because honestly, it's like, I'm not comparing it to exercise, but honestly, if things are not easy, if your location where you're exercising is not easy and you don't know what you're doing, people aren't going to do it. So we need to make sure that people know exactly what to do so they'll do it.
We're so used to things being handed to us. It's just, and it is intimidating. If it's a place you've never been in and you have to wear a mask and you don't know what you're doing, you don't know something, but make it as easy as you can for yourself and for others. Yeah. So that's what you can do. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I have a little bit of Beyonce left. So